Hello, I am the Understudy, and this is the channel where we discuss everything musical theater related. Today, we are reading Barron's AP Music Theory, 3rd edition by Nancy Fuller-Scoggin, BNE. This is a long and extensive book, and I'm working my way through it to learn more. These videos are a way for me to organize my own journey, but I'm very happy that you're here with me. And before we start, if you have any questions throughout, type them in the comments, and I will see what I can do to answer them, or maybe make a new clarifying video. Okay, this is part 9, Harmonic Progression and Harmonizing a Melody. The vocabulary words for this chapter are harmonic progression, common progression, including circle progression, progression by thirds, progression by seconds. Then we have retrogression, harmonization for melody or free response 7, and harmonic rhythm. Harmonic progression. Harmonic progression, or chord leading, is the process of relating chords within a scale to where they naturally lead. Progression is where the harmonies proceed from a stable beginning, the tonic function, and move forward through progressively more active chords, predominant and dominant function, including seventh chords, to end and resolve once again with stability. As we discussed in Chapter 7, every chord has a function that varies depending on whether it is a triad or a seventh chord, in a root position or inverted, and what note is doubled. Here we have each chord and what they tend to lead to. So we have the tonic chord leads to any other chord. We have the supertonic, which leads to the dominant or the leading tone triad. And then we have the augmented mediant chord leading to the submediant, or the leading tone, or the subtonic. Then we have the what is this called? The subdominant, leading to either the tonic, the supertonic, the dominant, or the leading tone triad. Then we have the dominant leading either to the tonic or to the submediant. Then we have the submediant leading either to the supertonic, the subdominant, or the dominant. And then we have the leading tone or subtonic leading to the tonic. Okay. Common harmonic progressions. Although common harmonic progressions charts are frequently used in many music theory textbooks, please note that they are a broad picture of progression and reflect chords in root position. This is not the norm because real music uses inversions, and inversions change the strength and the function of chords. This is what this might look like. So in major keys, we have the tonic to the subdominant or predominant, then the dominant, then the tonic. Note that these charts, in these charts that within the subdominant family, the subdominant, the 4, may go to the supertonic, but supertonic does not go to the subdominant. In minor keys, we have a similar, except you can see that the subdominant is, you can see that the major and minor are changed. And note that the inversions and context alter the strength of the role of chords diatonically. Okay, circle progression. Circle progression is a movement of chords where the root, not necessarily the base, of each chord is a diatonic fifth above the next chord. This gives the feeling of overlapping dominance to tonic. This is the strongest motion in tonal music. All of the fifths in a full circle progression are perfect except one. Can you guess which one that is? Yes, Fa to T is a tritone. So here we have the major keys on the top right here, and then we have the minor keys. This is a complete circle progression. But please note, music generally does not move in just one type of progression. So you will observe music commonly using a circle progression for 3 or 4 chords, the most popular being the supertonic to the dominant to the tonic, and very often the supertonic in first inversion, then the dominant, then the tonic, meaning you have Fa, So, Do in the bass. So here we have a full circle of fifths progression because each chord moves to the next by a root descending a fifth. So here we have the dominant to the tonic in F. Here we have the dominant to the tonic in E, the dominant to the tonic in A, the dominant to the tonic in D, the dominant to the tonic in G, and the dominant to the tonic in C. The most common use of the diminished leading tone triad is in first inversion, resolving it to either the tonic or the tonic in the first inversion. If we replace the root position leading tone triad with inversion, the inversion will be different and therefore the bass line is different, but the progression or the movement of the roots of the chord remains the same. Here is a common circle progression that uses the first inversion of a leading tone diminished triad and also heightens the intensity toward the end of the phrase with the addition of two seventh chords. So we can see this one right here. We have the tonic, the subdominant, we have the leading tone diminished triad in first inversion, we have the tonic in first inversion, we have the subtonic in first or second inversion. Actually, we have the tonic in first inversion or in first inversion with a seventh, and then we have the dominant and the dominant with the seventh and the tonic. Okay, progression by thirds. Progression by thirds is the movement of chords where the root of each chord is either up or down by a third. The most commonly used chain of thirds progression is this one, as we can see right here. The function, and here's the minor, and then with the function we have the tonic. This is the tonic again, which isn't the tonic, but is another tonic quality or function. Then we have the predominant or the subdominant, the predominant or the subdominant, and then the dominant, and then the tonic again. And so these are common progressions in the major and minor keys. Progressions by seconds. Progressions by seconds, as we can see right here, is the movement of chords where the root of each chord is either up or down to the next note in the scale. Adjacent chords with roots a second apart are responsible for many errors in part writing. So here we have a major and here we have a minor. We have the tonic, the predominant, the dominant, and the tonic, another tonic, the predominant, and the dominant. And we can see that these are a second apart, and we can see that these are a second apart. Remember, even if the chord is inverted, the progression is based on the root of the chord. So, how does inversion affect the chord in a progression? In chapter 7, we learned that root position chords are strong chords. They have tonic function, dominant function, or subdominant function. Tonic function chords, like the tonic major chord, the tonic minor chord, and the submediant major and minor chords, are often destination chords, especially when in root position. The dominant chords, or the dominant function for the dominant and the leading tone triads, chords move harmony forward. They provide an active energy when inverted. Subdominant function, like the subdominant and the supertonic, are transition chords connecting tonic to dominance. That's why they're often considered predominant instead of subdominant. The more a chord is inverted, the weaker its function, or it functions like another chord, especially when you consider what chord member is doubled. When you invert a chord, you can create a smooth connecting line by moving by step in the bass so that the inverted chord takes on a passing role, or by moving the bass from one pitch to the pitch a step above or below and then back. This type of inverted chord takes on a neighbor role. Inverted chords may serve to create an arpeggio in the bass line, or may hold the bass in a pedal. Here we have the passing, the pedal, and arpeggiated. May hold the bass line in a pedal on the same note while the voice change harmony. Because the figured bass of a second inversion triad is 6/4, that information tells us where there is an interval of a sixth against the bass and an interval of the fourth against the bass. The interval of a sixth is a consonant interval, but in common practice style, the interval of a fourth against the bass is considered a dissonant interval and requires special attention by normally placing it on a weak beat and resolving to a consonant, in one of three rules: the passing, the pedal, or the less common arpeggiated chord. So these examples with 6/4 chords or second inversion chords on a weak beat demonstrate the correct usage of the second inversion triad and also show the dissonant interval of a fourth above the bass resolving to a consonant interval. So a second inversion chord may function as a passing chord so that the bass line moves in stepwise motion, passing between chords that have the bass a third apart. Notice the passing second interval is on a weak beat within the measure, passing between two of the same chord. The the subdominant second inversion chord, as we see in the pedal here, is often used near the beginning of a phrase to extend or prolong the tonic function in the pedal chord, in the pedal inversion chord. When the subdominant chord is in the second inversion, do is in the bass, as we can see right here. This creates a pedal in the bass, three chords in a row with the same note, do, do, do. Second inversion chords will usually double the fifth in the chord, so all three chords have do in the bass, and do doubled, creating a strong tonic function. Notice how similar the tonic and the subdominant chords are. They have one note in common, and the other two are adjacent neighbors. We can see right here. They are both major in quality in a major key and minor quality in a minor key. This type of this type of second inversion chord is also called a neighbor second inversion or an auxiliary second inversion because of the way that the upper voices move one step up or down and back in an adjacent or descending pattern. Another type of second inversion chord is the arpeggiated second inversion, which is used to create an arpeggio between the bass notes on either side. Like the passing in the pedal chords, the arpeggiated chord should be on a weak beat. The cadential chord, like we can see right here, so the cadential second inversion chord is the only second inversion chord found on a strong beat. In the tonic second inversion, the fifth of the chord is so. And because it is in the bass and usually doubled as well, the second inversion tonic chord prolongs the dominant function when it precedes the dominant at the cadence. So we can see that this prolongs this function. And this is the most common cadential ending. In this progression, the interval of a fourth above the bass resolves downward to a third above the bass, and the interval of the sixth resolves to a fifth above the bass. So we can see this resolving down, and this resolving down, and this resolving down. Okay, so we have the cadential. We also have this one right now. You may even see a harmonic analysis written an alternate way. Instead of the, never mind. Instead of the cadential one right here, Roman numeral analysis, you may see both as dominants because they both function as dominants, showing the intervals in the figured bass moving downward by step. So here we can see the 6 to 5 and 4 to 3 instead. This is acceptable on the AP exam. Okay, let's take a closer look at the three of these used in harmonic progression. It says three, but these are three. They did not include the arpeggiated one. Okay, so there are four types of second inversion chords: passing, pedal, arpeggiated, and cadential. All are recognized uses of the second inversion chord. This information is tested on the AP exam, particularly in the free response section, where you are required to write a bass line to harmonize a given melody in the free response section 7. Many students make serious mistakes by using a second inversion chord anywhere, with no reason or purpose. Be careful. You must fully understand the use of second inversion chords and not just arbitrarily use them. Using second inversion chords inappropriately is considered an egregious mistake, a conspicuously bad or offensive mistake. The next 5 progressions have function identified above, chord symbols below, and the solfege of the bass note. One of the best things you can do is sing bass lines and recognize the connection between the bass line and the chord symbol. Learn what looks and sounds characteristic. So, identify the cadence to both of these. So here it says prolongs the tonic and serves as a chordal lower neighbor. So which one would this be? Authentic cadence. So this isn't the this is not the, what are we saying? This isn't the inversions, but this is the cadences of the final chord. So we have this, and then we have the bass line, and we don't really know if it's imperfect or if it's a perfect because we can't see the rest of the chord. Okay, and the next one, we have this one just as a cadence, prolonging the tonic, and then we have this which precedes and prolongs the dominant but should occur on a strong beat. This would also be an authentic cadence. So I'm not really sure why they're asking this right now. But basically we have the 5-1 here, which means that it's an authentic. And we have the 5-1 here, which means it's an authentic. The rest of the information is kind of not related to these questions, but it is good information to see how this all progresses, and if we would see the entire thing, it might even make more sense later on, but I don't know if we're going to see that. Probably not. Okay, next question. Here we have a cadence. It ends on the submediant. We have these two first inversions that prolongs the tonic. We have another first inversion here. The supertonic first inversion completes the arpeggio in the bass that begins on the last beat of measure 2. So it completes the arpeggio. Okay, cool. So here we have an arpeggiated, and there we have a neighbor, or what was the other name for it? The passing? No, not the neighbor. We have... Okay, yeah, it could be called neighboring, I guess. Okay, never mind. So this cadence, what do you say if it's a 5-2, 5-6? It is called a deceptive cadence. Next one. So here we have something to a 5 and 5 to a supertonic to a dominant and dominant to a tonic. We have this that prolongs the tonic and this that prolongs the tonic, which isn't really related to the question. But this first one would be a half since it ends on the dominant, and this would be an authentic. We don't know if it's an authentic perfect or imperfect authentic. Okay. Yeah, it says here as well, we cannot determine whether the authentic cadences are perfect or imperfect because we have not written the soprano. Let's move on to some progression and retrogression. We have been talking about harmonic progression, when the harmonies move from increasing tension unstable and then resolve back to the stable. So here we have the tonic family, the subdominant family or the predominant, and the dominant family. And here we have the tonic and the submediant. Here we have the subdominant and the supertonics. And here we have the leading tones and the dominant tones, or the chords, triads, whatever. In the common practice style, harmonies progress in this tonic, subdominant, dominant, tonic fashion. When harmonies move backward from this concept, meaning that they move from the tonic to the dominant to the subdominant to the tonic family, meaning a root position dominant to a root position subdominant, it is called retrogression. During the common practice period, they did not like the sound of a strong dominant to a strong subdominant. Contemporary popular music, on the other hand, loves a strong dominant to a subdominant, made famous in nearly every recording from the 1950s. Let's consider what other progressions are retrogressions and should be avoided. What chord is the first cousin to the subdominant? That's right, we have the supertonic first inversion. It is also a strong subdominant and constitutes retrogression that if it follows the dominant. So here are the rules of do nots of retrogression. Do not follow the dominant with the subdominant or the first inversion supertonic or the first inversion supertonic at its seventh. Do not follow the submediant with the tonic. Why? The tonic chord is more stable, less tense than the submediant. Do not follow the supertonic with the submediant. Yes, they are both subdominant and often function as predominant, but they're not equal in tension. Let's move on to harmonic rhythm. Just how often should you change chords? The underlying change of harmony is derived by noting the changing of the roots of the chord regardless of inversion. The rate at which harmony changes is called harmonic rhythm. There are no rules for harmonic rhythm. You can extend one harmony over several measures, or you can change chord frequently within the same measure. In free response 7, the harmonization of a melody, you establish the harmonic rhythm by determining when and how the harmony moves. On the free response 7 portion of the AP exam, your harmonic rhythm should move in mostly quarter notes, but you may use note values ranging from half notes to 8 notes. Using 8 notes, though, is not necessary. Okay, fundamentals of melodic harmonization. Melodic scale harmonization. If the bass line is an ascending major scale, what chords above it would that imply? In some cases, you have 2 or more commonly used choices. So here is the solfege chord symbols, solfege and the chord symbols, and then we have each of the, I'm not sure what this is writing here, the do, may, so yes, so this is all solfege, the first letter of the solfege, I would say. Cool. So the bass note is not always the root because some chords are inverted. After making some choices, the progression might look like this in G major, this one. Now let's use the ascending scale as the melody and see what harmonies might be implied. So it would look like this. We added an ascending scale in G major. Okay, and here we have a possible bass line and progression in G major. So the note in the bass is circled. The note in the bass is circled in the chord stack, reinforcing the inversion found in the Roman numeral chord symbol. So here we have chord symbols, and here we have each of these being circled, whether they are there. Okay. When we hear a complete chord progression without knowing what the symbols are, as in harmonic dictation, we want to listen to the bass line. It's a clue to knowing what the chord is. The bass line, along with the chord quality and knowledge of how chords relate to each other, harmonic progression, implies possible chords. Conversely, when we see or hear just the melody, that also implies possible chords with which to harmonize. These are overlapping scales. Connect the dots. Okay. Process of harmonizing a melody. Harmonization of a melody is tested on the AP exam in free response 7. You will be given a melody, 8 measures, usually in the major key in common time, that contain 4 cadences. The first phrase is harmonized for you, including the Roman numeral chord symbols. You are to complete the remaining 3 phrases, including viable cadences, the Roman numeral chord symbols, including inversions where appropriate, and the bass line. You do not write the alto and tenor voice. This requires the understanding of counterpoint, interval, harmonic progression, cadences, chord symbols, and inversions. So here's the process. 1. Identify the notes of the melody with either scale degree numbers or solfege. 2. Do the cadence first. You may earn as many as 4 points out of 8 just by creating the appropriate cadences. So cadences that end with the tonic or the submediant or the dominant only. Therefore, the chord symbols are fermatas, should only be a tonic, a submediant, or a dominant, or their relative things in minor. I didn't say if they were major or minor, but both a major and minor here. Use root position chords for the final 2 chords in each of your cadences. Okay. Step 3. Create the bass line. Use the same process we use to create implied progression from the bass line to create a viable progression that goes with the melody. Remember these hints. Kiss. Keep it simple for success. Do not needlessly invert. Do not use 7th chords excessively. Do not use root position 7 diminished leading tone chords. Do not use non-chord tones excessively in your bass line. Do not use second inversion triads or second inversion chords unless you understand the function. You could harmonize every diatonic note in the melody with the tonic, the subdominant, and the dominant 7th. Adding the submediant, major or minor, gives you every chord you need to write any cadence. So here we have an example of the tonic. We have the submediant, the subtonic, here's the submediant, and then we have the dominant. Other chord choices are the supertonic, usually first inversion, and supertonic with an added 7th. The diminished supertonics use only if you understand the context of this harmony. And write the norm. Write what is common in common practice style. This is an exercise in creativity, but more importantly, it is an exercise to determine whether you understand the norms of the era. Okay, step 4. Identify any notes out of the key and what that implies. More detail on this is provided in chapter 12 and 13. Step 5. Connect the dots. But now we should begin to see opportunities to connect the dots between the melodic patterns and implied harmonies. This will also help you in harmonic dictation. Here is a simple example. We will go through the process and create harmonization. So based on what is given, what do we know for sure? The first cadence is an imperfect authentic cadence. In measure 2, the dominant chord harmonizes the D. The C is used to pass smoothly between the T and the So. We circle the notes that are not part of the harmony. So what chords do we have to work with? Up here we have our chord menu. So identifying the cadences. The second cadence ends on re, which is not the tonic or the submedian chord, and therefore the second cadence can only be a half cadence. The third cadence ends on do, which is found in both tonic and submedian triad. This is not the final cadence we will harmonize with deceptive cadence. The last measure should have the most final sounding cadence. It is what is expected. So write what is expected, the perfect authentic cadence. So connecting the dots. In the last measure, the melody is mi, re, do. See that right here? One of the most common melodic endings. Harmonize it with the most common bass-like endings. So, so, do, creating the progression of an inverted tonic to dominant or a dominant seventh to the tonic. What commonly comes before the submediant is in the deceptive cadence, the dominant. Here. With this information, this is what the harmonization looks like so far. The last step is to see what chords will harmonize with the remainder of the given melody. You do not have to harmonize every note. However, you must have a minimum of 2 different chords or change inversion per measure. The AP exam states to use predominantly quarter notes. You might want to pencil in the choices. So here we have an example of this and the different choices that we have. So here it says aligning chord choices in columns under the notes makes it easy to see your alternatives. We can see that here, we can see that here, we can see that here with all the alternatives that we have with the chords that we have up here. So in the third measure, we could harmonize both fa and so under the dominant 7th chord and mi and do with tonic, but fa resolves to so. It should resolve to mi in the given melody, so that is not an option. In measure 4, it does work to harmonize fa mi with the dominant 7th chord, or harmonize fa with the half note supertonic or subdominant, and not harmonize mi. In the 5th measure of the melody line, it is ascending, so we will try and make our bass line descending. There are several good choices available. In measure 7, we can harmonize so and mi with our tonic, so, fa, and re, with the dominant 7th chord, and leave fa on beat 4 to harmonize with the diminished leading tone triad. The supertonic chord would not be a good choice after the dominant because it creates a retrogression, especially if it is in first inversion. We could also harmonize so and mi with the tonic chord, making fa a passing tone, and harmonize re and fa with the supertonic chord. After making some choices and trying to make the bass line move in the opposite direction of the melody to avoid parallelism by using appropriate inversions, we end with this harmonization. The fermata indicates the end of a phrase, but also the beginning of a new phrase, and progression starts new as well. Notice that after the fermata in measure 6, we choose to use a quarter note rest, since we have already 2 chords in that measure. So this is what this could look like. And here we have the correct resolution for the chordal 7 as well. So a few more suggestions. Use standard cadence. So we have the second inversion tonic to the dominant to the tonic. So, so, do in the bass. We also have the subdominant to the tonic. Fa, so, do in the bass. Then we have the supertonic first inversion to the dominant to the tonic. Fa, so, do in the bass. 50% or more of all common practice cadences will end with one of those 3 authentic cadences. We also have half cadence that ends on the dominant, and then we have the subdominant to the tonic plagal, cadence, and we have the dominant to the submediant deceptive cadence. Only 3 notes can end a phrase in common practice: the dominant, the tonic, or the submediant. Choose harmonies at the slowest possible harmonic rhythm. Keep it simple. Use basic primary chords like the tonic, the subdominant, the dominant, or the supertonic. Do not use the mediant, major or minor. Stay away from the leading tone diminished except in tonic expansion, such as from the tonic to the diminished leading tone tried in first inversion to the first inversion tonic, do, re, mi. Once you have written the cadences, you are over a third finished. Connect the dots with a standard common practice progression, such as the tonic to the submediant to the supertonic to the dominant to the tonic, circle progression. Choose to harmonize the notes of the melody that are important. Those are longer or are on the beat. Keep contrary motion in mind. You will find more on chapter 21, strategies for harmonizing a melody. Now let's do the chapter. Oh, sorry, this is... Did I go back? Oh, I did. Sorry. Chapter summary. Oh, here we have the standard cadences that I was talking about. All of these, the cadences using an ending on the dominant. This. Now let's talk about the chapter summary. So harmonic dictation, or chord leading, is the progression of relating chords within the scale to where they naturally lead. Progression is when the harmonies proceed from stable beginning, tonic function, and move through progressively more active chords, predominant and dominant function, including 7th chords, to end, once again, with stability. So the tonic family, the predominant family, the dominant family, like we talked about before. Common progressions, we have the circle progression. It is the movement of chords where the root, not necessarily the base, of each chord is a diatonic fifth above the next chord. We have the progression by thirds, which is the movement of chords where the root of each chord is either up or down by a third. And we have the progressions by seconds, which is the movement of chords where the root of each chord is either up or down to the note next in the scale. There are 4 types of second inversion chords. These 4 types of second inversion chords include passing, pedal, arpeggiated, and cadential, the only recognized use of the second inversion chords. In the common practice style, harmonies progress in this tonic predominant dominant tonic fashion. When harmonies move backwards in this concept, from the tonic to the dominant to the predominant to the tonic, meaning a root position of a dominant chord to a root position subdominant chord, it is called a retrogression. Do not follow the dominant with the subdominant or the supertonic. Do not follow the submediant with the tonic. Why? The tonic chord is more stable and less tense than the submediant. And do not follow the supertonic with the subdominant. Yes, they are both predominant, but they are not equal in tension. Harmonization of a melody is tested on the AP exam in free response question 7. This requires the understanding of counterpoint, intervals, harmonic progression, cadences, chord symbols, and inversions. Keep it simple for success. Do not needlessly invert. Do not use 7th chords excessively. Do not use non-chord tones excessively in your bass line. Write what is common in common practice style. The rate at which the harmony changes is called harmonic rhythm. And that is it for this part of harmonic progression and harmonizing a melody. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like what you see, press the subscribe button and leave any questions in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.